right. Well, thanks, Corey, for joining us here today. Welcome everybody to the 21st Century PowerShades training. We're very excited. This is a very, very cool product line that I can't emphasize enough will help you generate additional revenue and referral sales as time goes on. Simply put, it's a very unique product line that fits into a lot of different categories, from outdoor entertainment experiences to indoor. It really is a very unique product. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Corey right away. I know he's got a lot to cover and wants to give everybody all the ammunition they need to be able to close the deal on these very cool PowerShades. So with that, Corey, thanks for joining us, and take her away.
All right. So guys, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the PowerShades.com website just to quickly go through a few things here with you. Like I said, just PowerShades.com. You guys are welcome to to follow along, or look it up on your own after this. But as you can see across the top here, POE, interior, exterior. So I'm going to start off just on the home screen. We do interior and exterior roller shades. We can do interior anywhere from 18 inches up to 23 feet wide. We can do exterior anywhere from 36 inches up to 23 feet wide. Okay, whether that be a one piece or like what you're seeing on the screen here, just as coupled shades. Now, with that being said, we offer a true POE. Okay, so we are the only one in the market that offers a true 5-watt POE that not only powers the cable, but also does all your commands through that single Cat 5 or Cat 6 as well. Okay, there are a few other vendors out there that offer a POE Plus. We have to, have hubs and different, power adapters to get them to work. Ours is truly a POE switch with a Cat 5 or a Cat 6 ran to the window location, and you're done. So anybody that is doing a new home pre-wire, this has been a big deal for them, just simply because they don't have to worry about which wire they're running to what locations, or having to put a bunch of expensive hubs and adapters in there to be able to power up the shades in the room. It's truly a 5-watt or less, even at full power. Another cool thing about all of our motors, they work with all the different control systems. So URC, Control 4, Elon, Alexa. So whether it is a POE, whether it is a AC, so a high voltage, whether it's a low voltage hardwired, or whether it is a lithium-ion battery, all of them are able to speak to the different control systems. That way you can not only have power shades, but also have a smart shade there as well. As you can see on the screen here, we offer a few different styles. So the Affinity, which is our open roll system. Concord, which is a fascia. So that is a powder-coated aluminum faceplate that snaps over the front of the hardware, and then it has end caps to give it a nice finished look. Then we also offer the cassette style. So the cassette style is a one-piece enclosure, and then it would have whatever fabric the customer chose for their actual shade. It would have that over the face of it to give it a nice, decorative finished look. As you can see on the Affinity and the Concord both, we offer a day and night, so a dual shade. So if you had a customer in their master bedroom, they want to have blackout shades to block out, any light possible. Maybe they work at night and sleep during the day, and they want to block out that, that sunlight. But the wife still wants a nice finished look. She's not a fan of the, the blackout fabrics. So in the open roll or the fascia, you can get that in a dual. With the cassette being just a one piece, it doesn't allow that dual hardware. Okay. When you guys log into our portal, I mean, this is roughly what your screen is going to look like. There will be a few changes. For instance, yours won't say sell price down there. Yours will only say MSRP. Like I was explaining to you guys earlier, we do everything in MSRP simply because we want you to be able to take your laptop out, measure a job, sit down with Mr. and Mrs. Customer at their kitchen table or at their, their countertop, and be able to build this quote right there in front of them, be able to try to get a deposit or a commitment right then and there, rather than call them back, 3 days from now and say, hey, congratulations, I got your order put together at $16,000, and they're, you hear them have a mini heart attack on the other end of the phone. Your chances of closing a job like that are much greater if you're able to sit down face to face and put your selling shoes on or be able to negotiate right then and there if you need to, rather than hear them say, okay, well, let me talk to my husband or let me talk to my wife, and then they ghost you and you never hear from them again. So if you come across the top of this black bar here, you're going to see a downloads tab. We'll start off by clicking the downloads tab here. You can see indoor installation guides. So we have the cassette style installation guide, fascia, open roll. So depending on which one you guys are installing, obviously you come down here, we'll click on fascia just so I can show you. It's going to give you all the different information you need, what tools are required, some YouTube videos so you can, watch it if you'd rather watch than read. We scroll down here a little bit farther. It's going to show you, the different power supplies, how to repair a remote, again, a video that goes with all of these different steps, how to set your limits, some frequently asked questions, how to shim a shade if it's not tracking the way it needs to. So like I said, under that downloads tab in the portal, it has a lot of information. That way you guys can get accustomed to these shades before you ever walk out on the job site. Another thing that's a big deal for some dealers is the hardware information. We click on the hardware information here. You're going to see, some of the different color options that we offer, along with the dimensions for your brackets. If you're doing a 3-inch open roll, this is going to give you all your dimensions. That way you can measure it and kind of see how it's going to fit in your application before you order the job. Same with your fascia. We offer a 3-inch and a 5-inch fascia. Anytime you're doing a dual roll, it's going to be on the 5-inch fascia, just because it has to be able to house, 2 tube and fabrics in that one hardware. And then as you can see here, your cassette. So if you're using that one-piece cassette, also has the measurements for there. We scroll down just a little bit farther, you'll see we also have a digital fabric book. So let's say you guys have a fabric book that you've loaned out to Mr. and Mrs. Customer for the weekend. They call you on Friday night and say, hey, I have a couple questions about this fabric in this book. Can you answer them for me? Well, if they have your only book, it makes it very difficult to answer those questions. By having this digital fabric book, you can click on download. It'll download that fabric book to your computer. Then you're able to, hop on and walk through those shades, one by one with the customer and speak intelligent, even though you don't have a fabric book. If we scroll down here just a little bit farther, we'll get to the drivers. So as I was saying earlier, regardless of whether you're using, PoE, high voltage, low voltage hardwired, or the lithium ion, all of them are able to be set up on a smart home system. Whether that's something as simple as, Amazon or Alexa or Google, or whether you have a full third-party control system like a Control4 or Savant, URC, they're able to speak with all of those different systems. Scroll down a little bit further, measuring guide or an outdoor shade installation guide. So again, most people are scared of the shade side of the industry just because they're afraid of making a big mistake. There's most of the information you need is going to be right here under this downloads tab to help make sure that you don't make that mistake. But even if, for your first 3 or 4 or 5 orders, you want to call me every time, I'd be happy to walk through each order individually with you guys, make sure you're not missing anything or make sure you're not forgetting anything. Try to look at some pictures with you and give you my feedback on what I think would be the best for each job. So, definitely feel free to use me as you need. Down here under marketing material, we'll click on this just so I can show you some different options here. All right, so if we click under the lifestyle tab, as you can see, that takes you directly to a PowerShades Dropbox. Okay, this is here strictly for our viewers. Okay, that way, if you guys are wanting to do a marketing or an email blast, you're able to hop on here. You can steal a few of these pictures, be able to share them on your social media, try to stir up a little bit of attention on the whether it's interior or exterior shades. Let's see. Here is a big exterior project that we did. So as you can see, it doesn't necessarily have to be a full, squared, project that you're putting it in. We have different systems that can work, whether it's a round column or a squared off column. So depending on what, environment they're being put in, we definitely have multiple options that can work. I was going to try to show you. We also, as you can see on this one, so this one, the customer had a beautiful view of the lake. They wanted to be able to put some, fully shut off the outside elements, whether it's raining or whether it's snowing outside, they still wanted to be able to use their patio. So they had us put in a couple of clear vinyl windows in their shade. That way they could still look out and see the lake or still have their view and be able to use that area year round. So in the summertime, obviously they just open it up all the way. In the wintertime, they close it down. They can set a little propane heater out there, be able to sit out there and enjoy the weather or, enjoy their patio space regardless of what the weather's doing outside. At any point in time, you can click either the PowerShades symbol up here in the top left or the home button, and it will take you back to your home screen. First things first, we'll go in, let's do internal. So when you guys go in to build a quote, this is what your screen is going to look like. It's going to ask you for your quote title. If you have any PO system or any reference numbers that you want to reference this job with, when you log in, it'll already know what territory you're in. It'll already know what dealer you are. The only thing you'll have to fill out is going to be the install and the shipping address. Okay. The reason those things are important is because the more information you give us before you place the order, the more we can build in it for you ahead of time. Okay, so by giving us that installation address, we know what time zone you're in. We know what city, state, zip, obviously. That way, when we're setting up these shades for automation, it already knows, you're in the central time zone or you're in the eastern time zone. That way, when you're setting up automation and you want these shades to automatically open at sunrise, it knows what time sunrise is based on the install address. Shipping address is going to be important because you may not want to ship these to your customer's residence. Because you and I both know if you ship this to Mr. and Mrs. Customer's house today, but you're not able to show up on the job site for the next week because you're booked up, they're going to be throwing a fit asking why you're not there installing these shades. Most of my dealers have these shipped just to their own property, whether it be a storefront or whether it be their own residence. That way they can be the one that determines when this job gets scheduled and not scheduled based on when they arrive to the customer. So depending on how many shades, depending on what size shades, you can either have them sent to the customer's residence, or you could have them sent to your residence, and then you could take them with you to the job site. If we click, I'm just going to do, so next thing we'll do is click this green button here, add shade or accessory. As you can see, we can go into the indoor or outdoor shade builder from this page. We can also go in and add accessories. So if we want to order a sample kit or we want to order a fabric book, we can go in, add those items in here. If I have a customer that I'm outbidding a job for and they can't decide between two fabrics, you can go in here, select whatever fabrics the customer is looking at. That will send them an 8x10 swatch at no charge. So no charge to you, no charge to them. You can order up to 10 samples at a time at no charge. So like I said, if you have a customer that can't decide between the charcoal gray or the charcoal, you hop on here, order them a couple swatches. It'll send them 8x10 of each of those. Then once they receive those swatches, hopefully you're able to get back with them and try to lock down a job. All right, so if we click on indoor shade, from here it's pretty simple. You go in and you select whether you want manual or whether you want motorized. If you want manual shades, it's going to ask you if you want the spring pull or if you want the chain style. If you do motorized, it's going to ask how you want to power the shade. So like we talked about earlier, POE, so a true 5-watt POE, high voltage. So all of our exterior shades are high voltage. We do offer high voltage for interior as well. It's not near as common, but it is an option. Low voltage hardwired, and then we also offer the low voltage lithium ion battery. Okay, the lithium ion battery is going to be good for roughly 500 to 600 cycles on a single charge. So depending on how often Mr. and Mrs. customer is running that shade up and down or what kind of automation they have it on, for most people that's going to last 6 months to a year without ever having to charge that battery. When you do have to charge it, it charges just like your cell phone does. It plugs into a wall outlet on one end, and then the other end plugs into the motor head. Charge it for a couple hours or charge it overnight, and then it's good for another 6 months or a year. For this demo, we'll do a lithium ion, and everything is going to be put in inches. So we'll do a 3050. I will also show you, so as you can see here, all of the measurements are done down to the nearest 16th of an inch. So anytime you're putting your measurements in, we want to make sure that you're giving us your true width measurement. So don't take any deductions before you put it in the portal. We take deductions in-house. So we don't want you taking an eighth deduction and then us taking a deduction before you know it, your shade's 1/4 inch short and it doesn't give you the look or the appearance that you anticipated. Mount type, so inside mount, so inside the window jamb, outside mount, obviously outside the window jamb, and then fabric width. So if you have, let's say you have a sliding door, and you wanted to make sure that the fabric went from the trim on the left to the trim on the right, then when you're putting that measurement in, you put fabric width. So I want my fabric to be, 100 inches, and then you just have to know that your brackets are going to mount roughly 5/8 of an inch outside of that width. Okay, so it's not near as common to do a fabric width measurement, but there are some circumstances where you're going to want or where you'll need that. So I want to make sure that you guys know what that is. Next thing here, shade configuration. So your most common is going to be single. Obviously, we talked about dual shades a little bit earlier. We also offer single coupled. Okay, so coupled shades are going to be like this picture here. So it would be one motor that's controlling that whole bank of shades. So that guarantees that every one of them roll up at the exact same time or roll down at the exact same time. The only downside to that is you can't open just one or two. You have no choice but to open all of them when they're coupled. Roll direction. So a standard roll is going to be off the back side of the roll. So if you think of a paper towel or a toilet paper, so standard is going to be coming off the back side closest to the glass. Reverse roll would be coming off the front side of that roll, just like a waterfall. So standard is going to be your more common, but there are going to be certain doors or certain windows to where you have maybe a window crank or door handles on a French door, and you need to go reverse roll to be able to make sure you clear those handles or those knobs. Next thing it's going to ask you here, header type. So do you want open roll? Do you want fascia? Or do you want cassette? So as we talked about earlier, fascia is just the aluminum, the powder-coated aluminum that snaps over the face of the hardware. And then the cassette is a one-piece system with the fabric insert. So for this, we'll just do a 3-inch white fascia with end caps. So we're doing an inside mount, so chances are we wouldn't need end caps unless you had a small window jamb. So if you only have a 2-inch window jamb and you have 3-inch hardware, obviously you're going to have 1 inch of hardware sticking out past the jamb. So in that circumstance, you would want to make sure that you have end caps included. That way you can give it a nice finished look on that outside. Fabric. Obviously, the fabrics will make a lot more sense once you guys have a fabric book or once you have access to the portal where you can go in and at least look at the digital fabric book. But the fabrics are going to be available in 1%, 3%, 5%, 10%, a light filtering, and then also in a blackout. So depending on the customer, depending on the job, will determine which fabric you were going with. Control side, so on a lithium ion, it's not as big of a factor, but if you've went in and you've worked with a contractor and you've pre-wired this job, and your power supply is coming in on the left-hand side of the window, obviously you'd want to click a left-hand control side because that's what side the motor is going to be on. So depending on which side you want the motor, you would select whichever option you want to go with here. HIM bar. So on the HIM bar, we offer an internal HIM bar. We also offer an external HIM bar. So, yeah, I guess I can't show you that. So on the external HIM bar, it's again just a powder-coated aluminum that's on the outside of the fabric. On the internal, it is fabric wrapped. So the fabric's actually folded over the HIM bar and then sealed on 3 sides. That way that HIM bar doesn't slide out that pocket of the shade. I would say internal is probably the more popular, but external definitely has its time and place. Window jamb depth, all that's for is so we can try to remind you whether you need end caps or not. Side channels. So if you're doing a blackout shade, then you have to think anytime you're installing a shade, you're going to have roughly 5/8 of an inch light gap on your left and right hand side. So if you're doing a blackout shade, you probably don't want a light gap coming down each side of your fabric. So anytime you're adding, or anytime you're doing a blackout, you probably want to look at side channels, and you may even want to look at sill channels. So as you can see, there's none, side channel, sill channel, or you can add both to your job. For this one, we'll select none. How do we power the shade? Okay, so do you just want to use a standard wall charger and charge it, once every 6 months or a year? Or, maybe this window is 20 foot up in the sky and you don't want to have to send a installer or, make your customer climb up a ladder every 6 months to charge the shade. So we do offer a solar panel option as well. The solar panel just plugs into the motor head, and then has a piece of double-sided tape. So it sticks directly to the glass and then just trickle charges that motor for you, or that shade. Next thing we're going to come to is the attributes down here. So this one, again, just like when we were talking about the install address earlier, this one is important because this tells us what floor this shade's on, what direction it's facing, what room it's in. So again, the only reason those things are important is that way when we're setting up groups, we can group everything on the first floor together. We can group everything, facing south together. We can group everything in the living room together. That way when your installer shows up on site, that's one less thing that you guys or that he has to worry about, because we can take care of all that ahead of time for you. Then we would click Add Shade. As you can see here, it's going to give us our shade we just built. So living room, shade 1. It is a single with a 3% fabric, just a standard 3050 window. As you can see, MSRP on it is $511.32. And then there's $5 in there for shipping. So $500 MSRP, you guys get 50 points off that. So that's a $255 shade, and then it has $250 worth of markup in it, if you sell it to your customer at that MSRP price. Once you have the first shade built, from there it is very easy to just knock out the rest of the house. So if you said, I know there's 4 shades in the living room. Then we get down to the kitchen. There's 3 shades in the kitchen. Then we're in the master. Maybe there's 3 shades in the master. So now you've got the whole house. You got every window in the house put in here. The only thing you got to do at this time is go back and put in your true measurements. So whatever your measurements are, and then let's say you had one that was just a monster. Anytime you make a mistake, or anytime it's unable to build the shade the way that you have it put in, as you can see down here at the bottom, it's going to red it out and it's going to tell you error for the MSRP price. Anytime it gives you that error, if you click on the little pencil here, scroll down to the bottom, it's telling you the roll diameter is 3.841. Well, you only have 3-inch hardware. Okay, so it's not saying that you can't do a shade that big, but you can't do a shade that big with 3-inch hardware. Okay, so if we went and changed this to 5-inch hardware, now it's going to tell you this shade needs a larger motor. So that lithium-ion battery doesn't have enough torque or doesn't have enough power to power a shade that large. So if we did a different motor, then it gives you a price for that shade. So anytime you're building a shade that's very large like that, you just have to keep in mind that, you know, obviously depending on which fabric you choose, some fabrics are heavier than others. So if you pick a large shade and it has a heavy fabric, then it may make it a little bit more difficult to power that shade, you know, to power that larger a shade. Typically, if you have a 150 inch by 150 inch window, there is a mullion of some sort that allows us to be able to split, you know, so let's see. There's typically, like this one. So typically there's a mullion there somewhere that allows us to be able to split that shade up into a little bit of a smaller, you know, size. That way you don't have to have one large piece, and you can still get away with using your lithium ion batteries or your low voltage motor to be able to power that shade. Another thing that I want to show you here is now you can see that it has caused this shade to turn yellow. Okay, so again, it's not telling you can't do that shade. I mean, it still gives you a price on it. It's just telling you because of the size of that shade, there's going to have to be a seam in that shade somewhere. So anytime you see it yellow like this, you know, this assembly will have a seamed fabric. Anytime it's yellow like that, you're probably better off just reaching out to myself or reaching out to you know, one of the guys at 21st, just so we can make sure we get that seam exactly where you guys would want it. You know, we want to make sure it's either high enough to where it's out of the customer's line of sight, low enough to where it's out of the customer's line of sight, or maybe we need to look at some pictures of this window together and see if there's any other options we can do to make sure that it doesn't have a seam. So, you know, each job is going to be, you know, a little bit different. You know, if you're able to cut that shade down, you know, in half, then you can get away without having that seam. So just depending on what fabric you have, depending on how wide the bolts are, obviously it will determine, you know, which ones have to be seamed and which ones do not. But if you do have any issues, again, you know, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. I'll look at the order with you. You know, I'll look at pictures with you. We'll see exactly what we can do to make sure that it's giving you guys the, you know, the best possible option to be successful. And with that being said, what questions do you guys have at this point that I can help address for you while we're in this quoting tool? Anybody?
Don't be shy.
You there?
I think they're on. They're just muted. So.
Okay. I mean, if nobody has any questions, then I'll keep going. I just didn't want to keep talking if someone needed something addressed. Everything saves in real time. Okay, so you never have to worry about saving a job. Anything you put in the quote automatically saves at that point. On our ends, you know, it's going to show me what the title is, who went in and created it, you know, what company they're with, when it was created, you know, last time you were in there updating it. Anytime, I'll show you this again, anytime you have to go back into a quote to look at something, there's an eyeball over here under actions. So you'll click that eyeball. It'll take you into the quote. As you can see up here in the top, quote price will expire in 90 days. So all of the, you know, if you build a quote today, that price is locked in for the next 90 days. The only way that price would ever change is if you went in and you changed a fabric or you changed to a different size. So like I can click here and unlock and edit that quote, and it doesn't change any of my pricing. I can go in and I can change this, maybe this was supposed to be the master bathroom. I accidentally got the room name wrong. So as long as I don't change any of the measurements, then it won't change the price. I can still be able to go in and I can look and make sure what all that I had in here. But unless I click that unlock button, then my price is locked in. If you do click that unlock button, the only shade that changed, the only one that would change price would be whichever one you unlocked. Okay, so if I unlocked that master bath, because this one needed to be 72 inches instead of 60, the only one that would change price is that one shade. Everything else is still locked in for the next 90 days. Another thing that I want to show you guys, over here where it says export quote, every time you guys call me and ask me to help you with an order, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to export quote. I will export that into, make sure you guys can see what I'm seeing here. Export that into an Excel spreadsheet. And then the only thing I look for is I go through and I make sure, so I would say, are all these supposed to be motorized? All of them are singles. Yes, they all have the same fabric. Is that correct? And then I go over here. So header type, you can see all of these are 3-inch white until we get to that very bottom one. So earlier, whenever I went in and made the error, I changed that one to 5-inch black, just so I could show you guys that it would make the error go away. If we were doing this, job in real life, obviously there's a problem here. You wouldn't want all 3-inch white hardware and then just one room have a 5-inch black. So in that master bedroom, you would have 2 of them that were 3-inch white, and you would have one that would be 5-inch black. That would cause some issues. That's going to cause your customer to freak out on you or to question whether you know what you're doing. So anytime you call me, these would be things that I look for. So the only reason I tell you guys this, you guys have this same tool, at your fingertips. So anytime you're bidding a job or anytime you're quoting a job, I would strongly suggest clicking on that export quote, going in and looking and making sure, that you've got end caps for every window, that all your hardware is the same color, that all of them are inside mount that are supposed to be inside mount, so on and so forth, just so you can make sure that it limits the amount of mistakes, that are possible. Another good thing for you guys here, so, if you're building a large quote, as you can see, there's a duplicate quote here at the top. So if you're building a large quote and the customer says, well, how much would it cost if I did manual instead of motorized? We don't want to go in and change every one of those, in that quote to manual, and then the customer change their mind and decide they want to go back to, motorized. So you can duplicate quote. As you can see, it duplicates exactly what you have in there. You can go in and say, let's change all this fabric to sheer weave 7000. So very quickly, you can change all that fabric. More importantly, now you can see, so the MSRP on that new fabric we just chose is $11,233, where before it was $8,000. So just by changing the fabric, it changed the price of this quote by $3,000. Okay, to some people that may not be a huge deal. To others, that may cost you a job. Okay, so the only reason I show you guys that is so if you're ever building a quote and the price is just way out of the customer's budget, you think you could close them if maybe it was a little bit cheaper. We can, if you want to call me, we can look at some different fabrics, try to find something that's comparable to what they're looking at, and see if there's any way that we can, shave off a few bucks and try to earn the customer's business that way. Across the top of the screen here, you'll see, it has all quotes, active quotes, ones that are awaiting a PO, ones that are ready for manufacturing, ones that have been submitted to manufacturing, ones that are currently in production, and then shipped orders. So once an order ships, it's going to give you the date that it shipped. It would give you a tracking number. So you click on that hyperlink right there. It's going to take you, directly to the UPS website, tell you, your estimated delivery date. So anytime an order of yours ships, again, you can click on here. You can be able to track that yourself, so you can, keep an eye on where it is at all points in time. Let's see. I'll go through just a couple of pictures of some of the shades here, just so you guys can see for yourself. So this is a dual open roll, just a single open roll, a couple of different colors of hardware available. The fascia style. So this one here is a couple. So there's one motor in this shade, and it's controlling all three shades at the exact same time. That right there will give you a good idea of what the cassette looks like. So again, it's a one-piece cassette, and then whatever fabric the customer has chosen would be what's on the face of your cassette to give it a nice decorative look. All right, this here, so here's a picture of the remotes. We offer a single channel, which is the one on the left. We offer a multi-channel, which is the one on the right. So the one on the left would control one shade and one shade only. The one on the right would control up to 15 shades. So this multi-channel remote has 15 channels plus channel 0. So if you had, a conference room and there's 15 windows in it, you could control each one of those windows individually, or you could go to channel 0 and be able to control all those windows at the same time. We also offer an in-wall remote. Okay, this is a battery-powered remote, so it just sits in a little electrical box, and then you put a decorative faceplate over it. But it works exactly like the single or the multi-channel remote does, with the little arrows down the bottom left and right. You can select what channel you want to be on. Obviously, up makes the shade go up, down makes the shade go down, and then the middle button makes it stop. This here lets you see some of the shades in action. So while companies like Lutron have tons of patent around their hem bar alignment tool, we don't have, obviously any way to mirror or to match their hem bar alignment. But as you can see, just with our technology that we do have, while those hem bars may not be 100%, even, they are close enough that to the average, the average customer is not going to be able to tell whether one is slightly higher than the other or not. Okay, so who has questions at this point? Anybody?
Yep. Sorry, I had to step away for just a second. I had a question on power delivery for the exterior shades. Is there a chart or anything that y'all have as far as how much power draw, depending on like size of the shade, what like requirements electrically might be needed?
Exterior?
Yeah, like if a 20 amp circuit is pretty standard for power outlets, but at what point or how many amps would, an average shade draw?
Yeah, and that's something that, I could probably get that information for you. I don't personally know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
I do know, like I said, all exterior shades are going to be, just a high voltage. So, whether you have an electrician that is hardwiring it in for you,
Right.
or this customer here.
I'm thinking on new construction, wouldn't be any problem adding in, a dedicated circuit if it had a lot of draw. But I know a lot of our customers may end up, if it's something they're adding on, it's not new construction,
Right.
They may want to tap into an existing circuit and say, all right, well, hey, they've got they have an outlet right now that might have, at most pull half of its amps, but kind of want to get an idea so that you don't put a bunch of stuff on a breaker and that keeps flipping the breaker or something like that. I didn't know how much draw these would have, or if y'all had maybe a spec sheet or something that would give us a way to calculate that during the quoting process.
Sure, and that's something that I can get for you. I don't know it off the top of my head. Being just a dumb salesman, that's something that I don't get asked very often. But I work in our main office, so the president of the company's office is literally right next door to mine. The engineers are just right around the corner. So that is something that I can get. If you want to shoot me an email or a text message, I'd be more than happy to get that answer for you.
All right, I'll do it.
So the one you see on the screen there, those are two 23-foot wide exterior shades. And for this customer, now this wasn't new construction, but he just had an outlet put in above, where he was going to have the motor on each side of the, that opening there. So that's just a back porch or a little back patio area, and they wanted to be able to sit out there, enjoy the weather, still have their view. I wish. There we go. So this is what the view from inside the room looks like looking out. So as you can see, this is when the house being built, but they had a beautiful pool being put in. They had a big pond out back, so they always have deer and turkey that are coming up by that pond. So they wanted to be able to sit out there, have have some bourbon or, smoke a cigar, be able to have that view, again, year round. So when you're adding something like that to the, to the outside element, it definitely gives it a little bit of a wow factor. Other than the power options, any other questions you guys have?
I think that's got it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, if you'll send me over, if you'll send me over a text or an email, I'd be more than happy to get the answer to that for you. And then, I can let Tyler know if that's something that's important to the rest of you guys as well. I can let Tyler know and he can share it with you, or, if you guys send me an email or a text with your information, I'd be happy to address, you guys as a whole when I get that answer. All right, Tyler, what else do you want me to go over? Anything in particular?
You did cover the integration, right, with control companies and control systems.
Yeah, so I will touch on that just briefly again. Anytime that you are working with a control system, so let's say Control 4, for instance, if you click on View here, it's going to give you, a Control 4 driver guide. So it'll walk you through step by step, on how to, get our system to integrate with that Control 4 system. I can tell you, just based on, some of the dealers that I currently have that are using our drivers, especially Control 4. It is fairly seamless.
Take a look at the RTI one, will you? That's our primary RTI URC.
Yeah, absolutely.
For 21st. So everybody on the call, just so you know, we have many people internally who are very well versed with RTI that can help you easily create the different types of macros and automation features that go into this. And if there's a problem you're running into, obviously, because we've been so heavily vested, I guess you could say, with RTI for so many years, we never hesitate to ask them for help on anything when it comes to making sure that these work properly for your clients.
Yeah, so again, all the different drivers are listed right there on our portal. So anytime you have any type of questions, or concerns, obviously you can go right here and be able to look through that. Another good reason to look at the demo program is, if you have a certain control system that you're wanting to integrate with, by having it in your own home or your own showroom, it allows you to be able to set up that integration. That way, when you're going out on a job site, you've already done it once, so you know what kind of issues you had when you're doing it at your own house, or you know how seamless it was at your own house. It just makes you that much more comfortable when you're out in the field, installing it if you've already done it at your location. Another thing that I want to show you guys, so even if you have a customer that, maybe they don't have a third-party control system. They do want automation, but they don't want to spend the money and automate their whole home. We also have a cloud-based dashboard that we've designed with our shades. So as you can see, this is my personal residence, but if I want to open my son's window right now, or if I want to close my son's window right now, if I want to go in and set up any kind of, automation, if I want to set up a new schedule and I want them to, to open at sunrise. Like I was saying earlier, just by putting your address in, it knows what time zone, it knows what time sunrise is or what time solar noon is. You can go in and set this up, and maybe you're working with a school teacher. They want their shades to open every day at 6 a.m., but not in June and July because they're out of school. and they don't want them to open on Saturday or Sunday because they sleep in on those days. So you can go in and you can set this up, however you guys want it to be, just based on your customer. And you guys can do this from your home. So all of this information that's set up in here, you have access to this from anywhere in the country. So if your customer calls you and says, "Hey, I know I told you I wanted my shades to open at 6 a.m., but my schedule changed and now I don't have to get up that early. So can you send someone out and adjust those?" You can just log in from your couch or from your office and be able to go in and change all those settings without rolling a truck out every time there's an issue. Another cool thing here is you can set them up on two-way feedback. So as you can see in my daughter's bedroom here, it'll tell you that her shade is 0% open. It's got 11.7 battery life. Right now it's got a fairly poor signal. So in my house, I have a two-story home. I only put one gateway in there. I didn't put any kind of RF repeaters or anything like that. So in my daughter's bedroom, it's just far enough away from the gateway to where it doesn't get the best signal, but it still works as it should. If I was going to be doing this install at a customer's residence, I would probably order a repeater with that gateway just to make sure that I had plenty of signal and I wasn't, dropping signal and making it difficult to power one of the rooms. But, as you can see, you can go in and you can make, any kind of changes, set up certain scenes. If you want it to work for, all shades in the living room or all shades, all west-facing shades, so depending on what all you want, set up, even if they don't have that third-party control system, you still have full access to be able to go in and set all this stuff up. If you have a customer that, maybe you need to go look at, we'll do AV media. So if we went into this gauge job, you can see some of these shades are POE shades, some of these shades are RF shades, but you can see, the ones that are 100% open, what kind of battery life each of them have. So it is cool to be able to go in and get that two-way feedback. The only thing you have to worry about with two-way feedback when it comes to the lithium-ion shades is two-way feedback does drain your battery a little bit faster, just because it's always communicating back to the server or back to the hub on where that shade sits, whether it's 100% open or whether it's 50% open. So since it's communicating back and forth all the time, it does use a little bit more battery life. Obviously if you're doing a hardwired or if you're doing a PoE, that's not an issue. The only time that comes a concern is when you're doing that lithium ion.
Hey, Corey, I got a question for you. So if you set up the automation within here and then are doing, adding a control system, like an RTI system down the road and set up an automation through there, are they going to conflict with each other? Do you need to remove the automation from the, from the dashboard and then, to have it be accurate, if you will? I hate the things would be going up and down, up and down.
Yeah, no, they will not conflict with each other. Now, I will tell you, so a lot of our customers or a lot of our dealers do like their set it and forget it's through our system, just because it is so simple. They're good morning, so they want to open it at a certain time every day or close it at a certain time every day. But so your set it and forget it's, a lot of people do through our system, and then any of their scenes, their movie scenes or their whatever scenes they have set up, a lot of those are set up through that third party system. If they have both of the, if they have a third party control system in place. The other cool thing, once you have everything set up through the dashboard, there is a app you can download from the App Store. So, you know, if my kids carried off the remote and I can't find the remote for my shades, I can use my cell phone and be able to open or close any of the shades in my house, just as if I was looking at, you know, this screen right here. So there's an app for your phone that looks, you know, basically identical to this right here, to where it's going to say Aiden bedroom, up, down, stop. So any point in time, you know, maybe you go away on vacation, you can't remember if you know, open the windows or if you close the windows. You want to make it look like someone is home. You know, you can either hop on this dashboard, or you can get the app for your phone and be able to open or close those shades from wherever you are in the country as well. And I mean, I think that's, you know, the basics of it anyway. So unless you guys have any other questions, then you know, that's all that I have for you, at least at this point in time. Like I said, if you guys do want to, you know, to get signed up, or you want to have a little bit more access to the portal, so you can at least be able to go in and start playing around with some quotes, get with myself, get with Tyler. We'd be more than happy to send you guys the link and make sure you get the, you know, get the sign up and the access that you need.
You can also contact your 21st sales rep as well, you know, and they'll a sales associate in the branch. I mean, they'll be able to get you hooked up immediately with it as well.
Yeah, there's no cost to become a dealer, you know, so you don't have to worry about paying any outrageous fees or, you know, any sign up fees, anything like that. Really, the only thing that I ask of any of my dealers is that you at least order a fabric book, because it's really hard to sell a project if you don't even know what fabric you're selling a customer. So as you can see down here, that PowerShades fabric book, so this is the interior fabric book, is a $400 MSRP. You guys would get that for $200, and then there's $14 for shipping. So it costs you $214 to get a fabric book shipped to you. Once you have that fabric book, then it really just comes down to, you know, bidding on a couple jobs and making sure you read a tape measure the correct way. As long as you can read a tape measure, I can help you put the rest of the quote in. And that's it, gentlemen.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Corey. Appreciate it. And again, everybody, if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to let either Corey, myself, or your 21st sales rep know, sales associate know, and we'll be happy to help you out in any way that we can. Corey, appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.
Guys, have a good day.